standby dito lang sa camera. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 15, 12, 11, 12, 10, 9,
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Dwight de Leon, political reporter for Rappler, and you're currently tuned into our social media channels on Facebook and on YouTube. We are currently reporting to you live from the House of Representatives in Quezon City, where lawmakers just concluded their eighth day of investigation into the alleged misuse of public funds by Vice President Sara Duterte. This is already their last investigation or last day of inquiry in relation to confidential funds for this year, for 2024, as the House Good Government Committee gives way to the potential impeachment proceedings or potential proceedings that will be conducted by the Justice Committee, which will be tasked to lead or which will be tasked to handle the impeachment complaints filed against the Vice President. There are currently two impeachment complaints that were filed with the House Office of the Secretary General. Both of them zeroed in on the confidential fund disbursement of Vice President Sara Duterte. But Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua, the chairman of the Good Government Committee, says that the inquiry overall will not yet be terminated. That is because the lawmakers here or the committee is also looking into other pressing issues that involve the Vice President, particularly how her regular funds were utilized how our regular funds were utilized by the Department of Education or DepEd, which she led as agency secretary from June 2022 to June this year. The committee did not recommend yet the filing of cases against the Vice President, but the committee discussed potential legal ramifications against the Vice President and her staff. Congressman Chua clarified that this is not the stand of the committee yet, as there is no final committee report, but these are the potential cases that she may be facing. So these are presented by various lawmakers who are members of the Good Government Committee during the hearing earlier today. These cases include technical malversation in light of the Commission on Audit's finding that the Duterte's Office of the Vice President failed to justify how its confidential expenditures were related to national security and also peace and order, which were these are contrary to guidelines by a government joint circular. Remember that a few months ago, we learned that the Commission on Audit disallowed 73 million pesos out of the 125 million pesos that the Office of the Vice President received in 2022. Remember that the Vice President Duterte, did not originally have these funds. She personally requested that she wrote a letter to the Department of Budget and Management to have these funds, as her predecessor, former Vice President Leni Robredo, was the one who made the request for the office's budget for that year. And former Vice President Robredo did not request for confidential funds for OVP for the year 2022. And it has become controversial because also the public belatedly learned about the confidential funds of Vice President Sara Duterte. Aside from technical malversation, there's also the possibility of presumption of malversation because the Duterte and her staff may have failed to justify or failed to account for these confidential expenses. There is also the possibility that officials are liable for falsification of documents. This one is big, and this one has been tackled extensively. Lawmakers have been flagging the authenticity of the acknowledgement receipts submitted by the Department of Education and the OVP to the Commission on Audit due to these questionable signatures. For example, the name Kokoy Villamin appeared in the acknowledgement receipts of both the OVP and DepEd, but when you look at the signatures, they vary. The handwriting varies, and the signatures vary. During today's hearing, House Assistant Majority Leader Zia Alonto Adyong also flagged other signatories, such as the names Alice Crescencio, Sally Rendon, Sheila Dado, and Milky Sequia. So there are at least 4 names flagged by Adyong during today's hearing. He also pointed out some inconsistencies. For example, one name has different signatures in various acknowledgement receipts. There is also an instance where there are 2 different names, but they had the same signature. And then there's also one signatory that has a different addresses. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, 405 out of 677 signatories to the acknowledgement receipts were non-existent. When we say non-existent, they do not have birth certificate records with the PSA. Remember that the PSA previously confirmed to the House Good Government Committee that the name Mary Grace Piatos, when you think about the name, it's a combination of both a restaurant and a snack brand. That name, Mary Grace Piatos, does not exist in PSA records as well. Mary Grace Piatos is among the supposed recipients of Vice President Duterte's confidential funds. But we have yet to know if she actually, we have yet to confirm if she actually exists. But yes, according to the PSA, they don't have records of her. And then we also have other contrived names that were reflected in the acknowledgement receipts of Duterte's offices. And when you look at the names, they seem to be names of snack brands as well, such as Raymunda Jane Nova, Carlos Miguel Uwishi, and Fernando Tempura. Duterte and her staff may also be potentially liable also for the use of falsified documents, because the certifications that the Duterte's offices submitted to the COA used these acknowledgement receipts. There's also the issue of perjury, because OVP officials signed certifications that were later notarized, even though they claimed to not have an idea on how the confidential funds were actually disbursed. In past hearings, some special disbursing officers, or SDOs, said they only disbursed funds to Vice President Sara Duterte's security personnel, but did not know what happened after. And that is an apparent violation of government guidelines. During the hearings, it was also revealed that Vice President Duterte showered her staff with cash gifts. Representative Jervy Luistro said earlier that those who received, or those who bribed, those who gave bribe money may be liable for corruption of public officers, while those who accepted the money may be liable for bribery. And finally, plunder, because the total amount in question is 612.5 million pesos. That's 500 million pesos for the Office of the Vice President and 112.5 million pesos for DepEd from 2022 to 2023. These are all confidential expenditures of the Vice President. In his speech, Chairman Chua decried the supposed abuse of public trust in relation to the confidential expenditures and said the committee is proposing 2 bills that may be filed later this week. These include the Confidential and Intelligence Fund Act which seeks to tighten the rules on the allocation and utilization of confidential funds and provide a clear usage guidelines. And there's also a measure seeking to regulate special disbursing officers and impose penalties for potential misappropriation. Chairman Chua does not want to commit to a deadline yet on when their probe will end. The panel has been investigating the Vice President for months now, and bombshell revelations during committee proceedings have been cited by various groups and their impeachment complaints against the Vice President. The first impeachment complaint was filed Monday last week, if I'm not mistaken, by various civic organizations fronted by former Senator Dwight de Leon, and it was endorsed by Akbayan Representative Percy Sendanya, a House member from the minority. Then also later last week, various groups from the National Democratic Mass Organizations filed the second impeachment complaint against the Vice President. This one was endorsed by Makabayan lawmakers Arlene Rosas, Franz Castro, and Raul Manuel. So that is the latest here at the House of Representatives. I am Dwight de Leon for Rappler.